So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna talk about chapter 11. So this is the conic section. At the end of conic of the chapter 11 here, you will have a formula. This formula is quite useful because it will help you to do chapter 11 here. So let's talk about what you will see chapter 11 on your test. So mostly what you see in chapter 11 on your test is kind of like question 6, question 7 here on 11.4. So if you look at 11.4, I will just give you an equation and you have to identify this equation. And if it's a circle, you find the center and radius. If it's a parabola, you have to find the vertex, focus, and directrix. Ellipse, you have to find the center, vertices, and foci. Hyperbola, you have to find the center, vertices, foci, and asymptotes, and you graph it. So this kind of questions you will get in my test on test 4, the last test here. You have to know how to do completing the squares. That's the next thing you need to worry about because that's where a lot of students make mistakes here. And then after you have to graph the conic section in this case. So this is what your test will get. So this is one of the questions you get in test 4, and one of these questions worth a lot of points. I think it's worth around 10 points in your test. So make sure you guys understand how you figure out the conic section in this case and all these important informations. And then another part of in your test is writing an equation. So if you look at this question 5, they want you to write an equation. So that is a questions that you will get in your test. Also, is writing an equation, and then you have word problems. So in your test, you also get word problems. So make sure you guys know that in this chapter 11, you will have 3 types of questions that will come up in your test. One is to identifying the conic section. The second one is to write an equation. And then the third type is you got word problems. So let's look at let's look at your homework here. Amelia, you have any questions for me? Any homework questions you have for me, Amelia? So Amelia, you have any homework questions? Please let me know because you only right now is only you 2 is here. So let's talk about your parabola here. So parabola is really something that we learned last time in your algebra, in your college algebra. But this parabola now can go sideways and it can go up, down. So the equation is, so if you have a parabola that is your axis parallel with the x-axis, it goes sideways. How you determine it goes left or right, open to the right or open to the left, it depends on your A. So if your A is positive, it will open on the right. If your A is negative, it's open on the left. If your and watch the equation carefully, this is a y square and there's no square on the x. And then when you go to your y-axis, this is an x square and this is y. And if you have such case, then your parabola is open up and down. And how do we know it's open up and down? It depends on your A. If your A is positive, it's open up. Your A is negative, is open down. Okay. For the focus point in the directrix is based on your H and your K and your A. So some of you will ask me what is A in this case. A in this case is actually the distance from your there you go. A in this case is the distance from your parabola from your it's right over here something. Where is it at? So this is A. So A in this case is a distance from your focus point to your vertex. So this is the A in this case. This is so there is a distance between your focus point and your vertex, or your distance between your vertex to the directrix. Okay, so this is A in this case. So make sure that you guys know what is A here stands for. So let's take a look at your homework questions here. Oops, that's my email. I should not. All right. So so like question 3 in this case. So this kind of equations, find the equations of a directrix. So with a equals to 4. So how do we find your equations of your directrix? That's the formula that I show you to you here. Oops. The last, you can do it over here too. So because this is going up and down, so the if you look at your question here, this actually open upwards. So open upwards is this one. So this is the equation of directrix, k minus a. So in order for us to find the equations of a directrix is k minus a. So k in this case is your hk, your vertex is 2, and then a is 4. So 2 take away 4 is -2. So it will be y equals to -2. So this is how we find your equation of your directrix. So make sure you guys know, because it will help you this kind of questions. Let me see what we have here. Let me go through a bit more difficult one so you can see what we're gonna do. So this question wants us to find the equation, okay? So this equation is given us by 2 points that defined by vertex at -4, -3, and the focus point is at 0, -3. So first thing you guys need to do when you guys do this kind of questions and they ask you to find the equation is you have to figure out that is this open sideways or is it open up down? So how do we figure out is kind of like by doing a graph. So that is what I always tell my students to do is try to graph these questions. So so how do we graph this is then we figure out what happens on your sideways in this case. So let's take a look at this question. We're going to try to graph this one out. So so we have, let's say, so -4, -3 is your vertex. So your vertex is somewhere here. And then your focus point is at 0, -3, 0, -3. So you can tell that if your vertex and your focus point is on the horizontal line, then this graph will open to the right. Okay, so this is how you figure out what happens first, is what kind of graph is this will be, and then after that you can figure out the equation of parabola. So so what is the distance from here to here? So if you can figure out that distance is your a. So since this is from this is -4 here, so that means that this distance will be 4. Okay, this distance will be 4. So in this case, that your A will be 4 in this case. So if you look at the equations that we have, so this is open sideways, which is this one. So this is the formula we will be using. Okay, this is a formula we'll be using. So we'll be using this formula. So in this case, we know A in this case is 4 because from the picture we draw here, your A is 4, and your vertex, which is given to us in the question, is given us by -4, -3. So your vertex in this case is -4, -3. So what you do here is just plug this into this equation. So you will get y plus 3, which is your k here. Your k, this is your hk, don't forget. Your vertex is your hk. Y plus 3 square is equals to 4 times 4 is 16. 16 x plus 4. So what you guys do here is you do not need to FOIL this follow out. You don't need to distribute it. This is what you need to write in the answer. Same thing in your test. You do not need to FOIL everything out. You just need to write that as your answer. So it's an equation. So it's gonna be, let me put this power. Y plus 3 to the power of 2 equals to 16 x plus 4. So this is what you guys need to do in my test. You do not need to FOIL everything out. Just write your answer is like that. You guys doing okay here so far? Then graphing. So this is the part that we have to graph. So the 2 points that define the lactus rectum. So now we figure out what is the lactus rectum here. So so the equation of the parabola, the lactus rectum here is let me see, the length of it, okay, is the length of 2 points for A to A. So that is the lactus rectum in this case. So what is a lactus rectum if you look at your graph? So this is your focus point. So if you draw this, this is what we call as your lactus rectum, the line here. Okay, so this is A, this will be 2A. And these coordinates that we have, this coordinates point is your lactus rectum point in this case. So how do you figure out this lactus rectum point is you double it, okay? So this is a -3. So A is 4, so double it will be 8. So you just put plus minus 8 here. So -3 plus 8, you will get 5. So this coordinate will be at 5. And then if you take -3 minus 8, this is -11. So your lactus rectum coordinates in this case will be 0, 5, and 0, -11. So so that is your it's an ordered pair, it's a coordinates. So when you hear the word ordered pair, means the coordinates. So 0, 5 is one of them, and 0, -11 is the other one. Okay, so that is the meaning of the lactus rectum. And then you graph it. So when you graph this, how do you graph this? Firstly is you have to click a parabola, but this parabola is parallel sideways, so horizontal, so you have to do this. So the first thing, if you look at this question, they want you to graph the vertex. So you have to graph the vertex, and in this case, your vertex is at -4, -3. So this is your vertex. And then next, you don't graph your focus point, you graph your coordinates of your lactus rectum here. So it will be at 5, 0. There you go. So this is your, or you can do -11, 0. So one of those. So you save this, and this is how you graph your parabola in this case. You guys doing okay here? So so these kind of questions, they will ask us, you will get these kind of questions in your test where I want you to find the equation here. So but definitely it's not multiple choice. Again, class, I want you to teach you how to do completing the square. That is my main part of this. This is already, if you get question like this, and the question 21, 12, and 12, 11 and 12, like these kind of questions, there's no completing the squares because they redone it. This is the one that you have to perform completing the square here. Okay. So does anyone here know how to do completing the squares for this, like finding the vertex and everything? Because this is the most important case here. That means you get this in your test. So does anyone here know how to do how do we do this question? Mitch, Amelia, Mong, how you do this question? This is question 13 on 11.2. Anyone know how to completing the squares? Y squared minus 10y is equals to, no, plus 8x plus 25 equals to 0. Anyone know how to do this? Because this is the one that is on your test. And this one worth around 10 points in your test. So that's why I need to very emphasize this on. So so the first step to completing the square, so you have to completing the square here. So the first step is you have to move all your variables, separate your variables. So if you look at this, the y squared pops up, okay? the y square, but your x doesn't have square, we know this is going to be a parabola. But which kind of parabola we have, it depends on what variable is square. So since you're telling me that your y is square, your x doesn't square, means this is a parabola open sideways. Okay, so we know this parabola is going to be a parabola open to the right or left. We doesn't know it's right or left until you figure out your A. If your A is positive, it's open right. If your A is negative, it's open left. So right now we did not know what is the parabola is. So let's configure square. So this one we know is parabola for sure. Okay. Next we have to move all your variables on one side. So you keep your y square, all your y's on this side. So you keep all the y square, everything over here. And you move your 8x over that side and the 25. So you move all, you kind of separate your variables here. And then now you're completing the square. So because the y square is really have coefficient 1, that is good. So you have to take the negative, you take the b over 2, b over 2, the middle part over 2, and you square it. So what we have here is negative 10 over 2, and you square it. So that will give us 25. Yep, that will give us 25. So that means that you have to add 25 to both sides of this equation. So you will get y squared minus 10y plus 25 equals to negative 8y minus 25 plus 25. So you have to add this 25 to both sides. And these three terms on the left side here, when you factor it, it's going to be a perfect square. And it's going to be y minus 5 squared. And then the right side, the 25 cancel out. I think I forgot my negative here. Yeah. The 25 is cancel out. So what you left is a negative 8x. Y, it should be x here. And then after that, what you need to do, because if you look at all your equations, it have to be 4a. Okay, 4 times a. So what you need to do is you have to kind of do a little bit of factor here. So so how do we factor in this case is you factor the 4 out. So in this case, you will get y minus 5 squared equals to 4 times negative 2x. So because negative 8 is 4 times negative 2. So we know in this case that your A is a negative 2. Okay. And your vertex in this case is HK. So a lot of students tell your answer here is 5, 0. That is wrong. Okay. The reason why you put 5, 0 is wrong is because your H in this case is on the X value and your K in this case on the Y value. So you switch these two around. And if you switch these two around, everything is wrong. Your graph is wrong, everything is wrong. So in this case, be careful with your HK in this case. So your vertex in this case is 0, 5. So this is, again, ordered pair. If you look at your homework question, ordered pair means coordinates. So make sure that you write this in the coordinate system. So this is your vertex in this case. Next, they want you to figure out your focus point. So now you can tell that this is actually a parabola open to your left. Okay. Why this is a parabola open to your left is because your A is negative. Okay. So in order for us to figure out your focus point, so if you look at this question here, this is the one that we're using to the left. Your focus point is negative A plus H, comma K. Okay, so your focus point in this case is negative A plus H, K. Or sometimes I can write this as H minus A if you want to. So, so in this case, H is 0. Minus negative 2, so that is a plus 2. and then k in this case is 5. So your focus point in this case is 2, 5. Okay, so that is your answer for your focus point, 2, 5. So if you follow the formulas provided to you, oh, this is wrong. H minus A. Oh, okay. So what happens here is this A that I have here is going to be an absolute value. Totally forget about that. So this is an absolute value here. So in this case, that if you take the absolute value of -2, this is actually is -2. So your vertex in this case is a -2, 5. So totally forget to take the absolute value of it. So yes, when you guys use this formula, your A in this case is the absolute. That means you have to take a positive value of it. Okay, so not the negative value of your A. So so that will be the correct answer. And then the directrix in this case is x equals to h plus a. Again, as the same as the previous one, your a has to be absolute value. So in order for us to find the directrix here is x equals to h plus a. H in this case is 0. A is negative. Is it plus or minus? Let me see. H plus a, yeah. So it's +2. Sorry. So in this case, you will get 2. So you get 2 here. 0 plus 2 is 2. So again, class, when you guys do this in your test and your online homework, if you give me 2 as your answer, they will mark you wrong. Does anyone here know why they will mark you wrong here? This is something very important. Also, you won't get full points in your test. So does anyone here know why this is wrong? Anyone? Yes, it's asking for an equation. You're right, Mong. So in this case, it should be x equals to 2, not 2. Same thing happens in your test. If you give me just 2, you get it wrong. Okay, it's the equation. And now we're gonna graph this. So how do we graph this is we have to, first you enlarge this fellow, and then this is going sideways, left and right. First point out the vertex. The vertex is at 0, 5. 0, 5 is somewhere here. Okay. And then what you do next is you find the coordinates of your lactus rectum here. So what you guys do here is you take your A and this is your A is 2 here. So this is your focus point, -2, 5. And then you double your A. So double your A means 4. So you add 4. So you move 4. 2 times 2 is 4. So when you move 4 up, you become 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me see. This is 5. 5 plus 4 is 9. So you get 9 here. So this is your answer for this case. So make sure that when you guys get the vertex coordinates, and how do you find these coordinates? It's called a lactus rectum. So you double the A. So since our A here is absolute value of A here is 2, so you double it become 4. So you just move up by 4. Okay. So this is how you graph this equation in this case. So this is how we do your parabola using completing the square. And again, class, this kind of questions that we just did just now worth around 10 points in your test, 4. So make sure that you guys know how to do the parabola section in this case. We're gonna move on to ellipse now. So anyone have any questions so far with the parabola type? Anyone have any questions before we move on to ellipse? Okay. So when we do ellipse, you have to be careful with ellipse here. Is because ellipse are very tricky. The formula for ellipse are not fun, actually. So this is an ellipse formula. So the ellipse actually has the foci, which is the plural form for focus. That means they have 2 foci. And it has 2 vertices. The vertices is at the end point of it. And then you have this length, the one that goes up, down. So the one that goes sideways for this case is called a foci. That is your A here, and then the one that goes up and down is your B. So I just want to point out to you that if you have a parabola, ellipse that goes around, going what we call as a parallel to x-axis, the distance from the center to the foci is C. The center to the vertices is A, and the center to the up one is B. And this is where the equation of the ellipses are. Make sure that your A is greater than B. Then in order for us to find C, which is the distance from the foci to the center, is it's like a Pythagorean theorem, but you, instead of plus, because Pythagorean is A squared plus B squared equals C squared, you use minus. Okay, so this is ellipse in this case. There are a few important rules you need to know about your ellipse here. One, in order for it to be x-axis, this A belong underneath the x here has to be greater, that number here has to be greater than B. But if for a parallel one, then your B here is under x and y is A. So what is the meaning of this? It means that if you want to figure out which one is which, it's very easy. Is you look at your denominator. So example is ellipse. If you have like something x squared in the bottom, in the top, I don't care what you have on top, but bottom, let's say you got 16 plus, the plus is very important. Y squared is, let's say 9, this is equals to 1. So this is usually what you have for equation for the ellipse. So how do we know if it's going to be on the x-axis, on the y-axis? You look at your equation. So 16 is bigger than 9, so 16 is under x, so this is going to be x-axis. And that means that your ellipse here is going to be open on the x-axis, so it will be the first one, this one. What happens if I switch this number around, or I put 8 here plus y squared over 9 equals to 1. So if you got, now you find out that the bigger and the denominator number here is 9, not 8. And if you look on top is y, so this ellipse here is going to be open on the y-axis. So that means it's going to be open on the side, on the open on the second picture like this. Okay, so this is how you figure out which one is which. And then another mistake students have when they do this in your test is, make sure you understand that this first thing is figure out which one they open. Second thing is make sure you know that if I have the first one, your A in this case is not 16. Your A in this case is a plus minus 4. And your B in this case is plus minus 3. So a lot of students look at 16 and 9 and think that that is your A and B. That is not your A and B. That is your A squared and B squared. Okay, so there's A squared and B squared. So in order for us to find C, you have to use the Pythagorean theorem. C squared is A squared. Instead of plus, you use minus of B squared. So this is usually how we know A squared in this case is 16 and B squared in this case is 9. So 16 take away 9, you will get 7, right? Yep, 9 plus 16 is 7. 9 plus 7. So, but 7 is not your correct answer. You have to take the square root of it. So C in this case will be plus minus, don't forget the plus minus, square root of 7. So this is how you figure out your ABC in this case. Again, this all worth points in your test. So that's the reason why that I really want to know, I want you guys to know what's going on. So it's very important, okay? So let's take a look at this. No, this is all, let's do something more difficult. All right, equation case. So how do we know which one is, which side does it goes? I will recommend you to draw your picture here. Oh, by the way, if a question did not provide a center, the center is actually the midpoint of your foci or your midpoint of your vertex or vertices. Midpoint means you just add your x values and divide by 2, and then add your y values divide by 2. So this is how you figure out your center. So if a question did not provide a center, you find the midpoint of it. So like this question here, what we do here is we draw the picture. So if you look at the question, it's given us that your center in this case is 0, 0. That is very good. And then, so 0, 0 is right on the middle here. So this is your center. And then your focus point is 24, 0. 24, 0 is right here. Okay, this is 24, 0. And then your vertices is negative 26, 0. So this is your vertices. So what do you notice is all your, so the first thing you guys have to do here is you have to figure out that what is opening left, is that open on the X or the Y axis, not open, going around the X or Y axis. So as you know that all your center, your focus, and your vertex is on the X axis or on the horizontal line. So this is going to be parallel to the X axis. So this is how we figure out this kind of questions is draw me a picture, kind of sketch it, and figure out what is it looks like. If all your vertices, your center, and your foci, all are on the horizontal line, then it's on the x-axis. If it's all on the vertical line, then it is going to be your y-axis. So that's how you figure out which one is which. So for this case, we are doing this question here. So you guys doing okay here so far? You guys have any questions? Because you guys are really quiet here. So this question is given us by, so 11.3, this is question, what question is that? So we will be doing, so we know this is gonna be an ellipse with, we have an x-axis parallel to x-axis. So next thing you need to know is how do you figure out your AB? Because if you look at this equation, the equation is given us by this HK AB. What is HK in this case? That is your center. So your center in this case is HK, which is given in the question as 0, 0. So the question given as a center. Now the question needs us to find A and B. So what is A and B? A is the distance from your center to your vertices. This is your A. B is the center to the upper part here. This is B. So, and then C is the center to the foci. So the good news is that we know A, we know C, but we do not know B. Okay. So A in this case is 26. C in this case is 24. So so in this case that we know A in this case is 26 and C in this case is 24. How do we know this? Is because the distance from focus to the center is 24 units and the center to the vertex is 26 units. So that's your A and C. So what we need to do is we need to find B. And how do you find B is you use the Pythagorean theorem, but instead of plus, you minus it. So C is 24, so you have to square it. So 24 square, let me take out my calculator here. See what 24 square is. 24 square is 576. A is 26 square, so you have to square this. This is 676 minus B square. And then what you need to do is you switch your 576 and B square around. So you will get B square in this case is 676 minus 576. So that will give us exactly 100. So we know that B in this case will be 100 plus minus 100 square of it. Square of 10. Square of 100 is 10. So now you got the A, B, and C and your HK. You can give me the equation. So your equation in this case is going to give us by this equation. This is the equation we'll be using. Okay, we use this equation because of the graph. So, so we will use this equation. So we know that X and HK is 0. So your answer in this case is x squared over by a squared. A is 26. So we just did square of 26, which is 676. And then y squared, because your HK is 0, 0 at the origin. B is 10, but when you square 10 is 100, and this is equals to 1. So this is the equation, how we find this equation on your homework here. Where is my homework? There you go. So your answer in this case will be fraction x to the power of 2 over by 676 plus fraction y squared over 100. So this is how we do this question. Make sure it's always equals to 1. Okay, if it's not equals to 1, then you get it wrong. And next, you have to figure out your ellipses. So now you find out that this is going to be 10 because square plus minus is 10. So, so your ellipses will look something like this, where this is 10 and this is 26. So I think it's C. It goes sideways, not a circle. Okay. What makes it a circle? Does anyone know how do you get a circle from an ellipse? How do you know? Once you look at the equation, oh, this is a circle. Does anyone here know how you will get a circle once you look at the equation? Anyone know how? Circle? Anyone know what to do if I give you an equation? This is a circle. How do we figure out? Anyone? To figure out that this is a circle, your A has to be exactly the same as B. So if you have this equation, yes, A and C are equal. No, A and B are equal actually. So when you have this equation, if I change this into 9, now your A and B is the same. This is a circle. This circle will be at the center of 0, 0. Because your HK is 0, 0. The radius here is going to be square root of 9. So in order for us to figure out, which is 3 in this case, if they are circle, then this your AB has to be the same number, and then you take the square of it. That's your radius, 3 in this case. Okay, and your center is your HK. So this is how you figure out an ellipse is a circle or not. Okay. You guys doing all right here so far? Now we do something more difficult. Again, I'm not gonna, we did find the equation here. So if a question like this, they don't give us a center point, do you guys know how to figure out your center point in this case? If a question did not give us center. Because they give you the vertices and the focus. How do you figure out your center? Find the midpoint. So what is -4 plus -4 divided by 2? You get -4, right? What is -3 plus 5 divided by 2 is 1. So your center for this case will be -4, 1. Okay, so if a question did not provide us any center, make sure you find the midpoint of it. There you go. This is a tough one. Yes, something tough. So this one you have to know. This is another tough question. Usually in the test, I will just provide you this equation, and I want you to figure out what kind, identifying this conic section. If it's an ellipse, you have to find all this important information, and then you have to graph it. So how do we do this? Is you have to perform completing the square here. So this is a part that you have to do, completing the square. So before you do this, so we didn't know is that open on the X or the Y, it's going to be parallel on the X or the Y axis. So, so what you do when you have this case, we know this is an ellipse. And how do we know this is ellipse, not a parabola? It's because your X and your Y is both square. For parabola, it's only one square, the other one is not square. For hyperbola, one of these is positive, the square, and the other square is negative. So if I change this 25 positive to become negative, then I know it's a hyperbola. So this is how easy I can tell you, is this an ellipse, hyperbola, or parabola? Circle, I need to figure out an ellipse first, and then figure out if they have an A or B equals, like what we just discussed last time. So let's figure out this question. So how do we computing the square in this case is you gather them, all your variables, all your same variables. So what I did is I put all my x on one side, so 36x squared and 432x on one side. And then I put the y on one side, minus 150y. And then I move that number to the other side. The 621 is a positive. When you move it, it becomes negative. Don't forget, this negative plays an important role. What we need to do next here is, in order for us to start complete the square, your x squared here has to be 1. So you need to factor out 36. Yep, all 36 of them. So if you take 432 divided by 36, yep, you need calculator here. You will get 12. Okay, 12x. What we do with this 12x is, we did like last time, the complete square. You take this 12 divided by 2, which is 6, and then you square it. So 6 times 6 is 36. This is plus 36. Now, remember last time when you square it, if you add 36 here, you should add 36 on the other side. If you do adding 36 on the right side, you get it wrong. Does anyone here know why when you add 36 on this side, you get it wrong? This is also something that students make mistakes in your test, which I know you guys will add 36. Why is wrong here, anyone? So you did your homework, you should know why this is wrong. Anyone? No, this is wrong. Anyone? The reason why this is wrong, 36 is wrong, is because that if you look at this side, this is actually, you have to multiply what you factor out early on, which is 36. So in this case, the reason why this number 36 on the equal sign is wrong is because you need to multiply by 36. So this one came out to be a one large number, 1296, 36 squared. Okay, 36 times 36. That's why you get it wrong here. So be careful with this. And then you factor the 25 out. So you will get y squared minus 6y. I think, yep, 6y is correct, because 25 times 6 is 1/5, negative 1/5, negative 6. And then you take the middle term, which is negative 6, divide by 2, which is 3, and then you square it, you get 9. And again, you cannot add 9 here, you will get it wrong. So you actually need to multiply it by 25, because we factor 25 early on. So you get 225. So what you do next here is you just add up all this number. So 225 plus 1296 subtract by 621. This will give you 900. Okay. Now what we do here is these 3 terms, you can factor it, and the factor is the perfect square, and it's going to be x plus 6 squared. So this 6 comes from half of 12, the middle term. We still have the one that we factor on the 36 and 25. We still have it. So you have to factor, you have to put it in front of your common factor. What is half of 6 is 3. So it's negative 3 squared. And this is still equals to 900. So the last thing you need to do here is you have to make this 900 equals to 1. As you know that all your ellipses or hyperbola, they all has to be equals to 1. So how do I equals to 1 here is I divide everything by 900. So I will divide this factor what you have by 900, and you will divide 25 by 900. So you have to divide everything here by 900 so that it is equals to 1. So what is 900 divided by 36? This is actually 25. So your new parabola, your ellipsis in this case is x plus 6 squared over by 25. And then 900 divided by 25 is 36. So you will get y minus 3 squared divided by 36, and this is equals to 1. So this is the equations of your ellipses, and then you have to figure out what is your HK, your center here. So HK in this case is gonna be the same as your 6 and 3. So it will be -6 and +3. So don't forget that your HK is the opposite sign of your of the equation. By the way, this is an ellipse. So what kind of ellipse do we have here? So so which one is larger, 25 or 36? We find out that 36 is bigger, so it's gonna be on the y-axis. So what happens when your ellipse is on the y-axis? You will open you will have your parallel to y-axis. Your graph will, your picture will look something like this. Okay, so so we got that. We kind of figure out what's going on here. So we got the ellipses here. So the center of this ellipse is gonna be -6, 3. And then next, you have to find your vertex. So in order for you to find the vertex, this is how you find your vertex. This is a formula you find your vertex because it's with parallel. So what is A in this case? So this is the how we find your vertex. This is the formula we have to use. So now we got HK. This is your center. So how do you find A in this case is you take the highest value for the bottom one, which is 36, and you square root it. So your A in this case is square root of 36, which is ±6. Your B in this case is the small one, square root of 25. So it'll be ±5. So this is what we do to figure out your AB. Don't forget, this question will ask for foci. So how do you find foci? Is doing c squared equals to a squared minus b squared, like your coordinate, your like your Pythagorean. So a squared is 36 minus b squared is 25. So 36 minus 25 is 11, right? Yeah, 36 minus is 11. So b in this case will be b. C in this case, what? Yep, C in this case will give us square root of 11, plus and minus. So now we got this. So now we can find the vertex. Your vertex in this case is H. H in this case is -6. 3 is your K, plus minus A. A in this case is 6. Again, you can ignore the plus minus sign in your A here. So you have two coordinates, -6. 3 plus 6 is 9. And then you got a -6. And then 3 minus 6 is -3. So when you do your homework, they will ask you which one is above the center. Above the center will be the positive one, so it's -6, 9. And then the one below the center is -6, 3. So make sure you guys know which one is above and which one is below. This is wrong. Oh, -6, -3. Forget the negative. Okay. And then foci. So in order for us to find the foci, this is a formula to find your foci. So it's exactly the same as this formula, but we use C instead of A. So in order for us to find the foci, it's going to be -6, 3 plus minus square root of 11. So this is a little bit typing here. So, and again, you cannot add or subtract square root of 11 with 3. So this is your answer for your foci in this case. So, so your foci in this case will be still -6 here. And then this will become 3 is above, so it's plus square root of 11 And then this will become negative 6. It's the same thing, but minus 3 minus square root of 11. And then finally, you need to graph this. So how do we graph this? You look at your AB. C is not important to graph. So A is 6, B is 5. So that means that your center is at negative 6, 3. So negative 6, 3 is somewhere here, not B, not C, not. So your answer is A because your center is at negative 8, 6, 3. I'll make it bigger for you guys. Yeah, let me show it to you. So this is your center at negative 6, 3. Your B in this case is 5. So you go 5 to the left and 5, no, yeah, 5 to the left, 5 to the right. And then your A is 6, so 6 up and down. So this is what your ellipsis will look like. Okay. So make sure you guys, again, in your test, you won't get multiple choice question in this case. Okay. So this is how we do the ellipses. So I'm running out of time to do hyperbola. So I think there is a video about hyperbola. Hyperbola is very similar to ellipses. The only difference here is we don't use pluses, we use minuses. So if you can tell that ellipses are plus, hyperbola is minuses. The only thing extra that you have, so this is a minuses. The only thing extra you have for hyperbola is you have asymptotes. So in order for you to draw a hyperbola, you have to draw the asymptote first. And the asymptote is based on the box. So if you look at your question here, so how do you draw the box is based on A and B again. So remember the A and B that you found. So you do the A, let's say A is 6, you do 6 here, and then B is 5, you do 5 here, and then you draw yourself a box. And once you draw yourself a box, you connect from one corner to the other corner, that is your asymptotes for one side. And then you connect one corner to the other corner, that is the asymptote for the other side. So usually, and then right in the middle where the intercept is your center. So usually when you guys have to draw me a hyperbola, you have to draw me this box and your asymptotes. And why is this asymptote is used for? This asymptote is used for so that we know how wide or how narrow your parabola is, or your hyperbola is. So when you do your hyperbola, make sure that you've got your line cannot touch your asymptotes. So that's the reason why that your hyperbola. So if you got like this, your hyperbola is a bit more wider, flatter. If you got this, the hyperbola is a bit more wider. So make sure you guys know how to draw your hyperbola. And I would really suggest you guys to do some of these questions. And I didn't go through any word problems. So make sure you guys, there will be word problems in your test. So make sure you guys do some word problems here. So does anyone have any questions for me before we end this Zoom session? Do you have any questions for me before we end this Zoom session? Okay. This week is your last week of class. So this week we will be doing chapter 13. We don't do chapter 12. So we do chapter 13. So chapter 13, we only got 3 sections, 13.1, 13.2, and 13.3. And then after that, once you finish 13.3, you are done. The chapter 13 is series and sequences. They are not that difficult. No graphing on chapter 13, no sine, no cosine, no tangent on chapter 13. The only thing that you need to watch out in chapter 13 is very heavily on formula, and you have to use a calculator. Okay, so make sure that you guys know chapter 13. And once we finish chapter 13, next week on Tuesday, you will have your test 4. Tuesday will be on test 4, and it will be covering chapter 11 and chapter 13. So 2 chapters. So next Tuesday, you will have covering 2 chapters. It's not a lot of home questions. I think it's less. It's not like 20 questions like last time, and the questions are a bit easier. So there will be some word problems in this. For the formula case, well, I usually, if I'm teaching this on your class, if this is a class that I'm teaching, that means it's not a case in this case. Usually I will give you this formula. So remember the formula that I showed it to you at the very first thing of the class. This formula. So this formula is provided to you. So I will recommend you to use this formula. Okay. So I'll recommend you to use this formula for your test. In chapter 13, there are some very difficult formulas. The difficult one I will provide to you. So yes, in chapter 13, there will be some difficult formula in this case. I can show it to you the difficult formulas. You do not, this is using Cal 2, so calculus 2. So chapter 13, these are the formulas that is tough. This formula, and then also this formula. The first on the page 1 and page 2, you got all these 4 formulas here and the other 4. These 4 formulas will be also given in your test. The rest of them is not provided in the test. So so there are few formulas given to you in the test. So this one, and the one in the conic section here. So make sure you use that formula. I will also provide that formula when you do your tests in your finals also. Okay, so there are formulas provided to you. So anyone have any questions for me before we gotta get going here, because I have a next class to do. The test is on May 5th. Yes, the test is on May 5th. Is that Tuesday? Yeah, May 5th on Tuesday. Your test is on May 5th on Tuesday. And the same thing, you got 24 hours to do it. It's always at noon. I haven't set your test up yet, so you will set it today. And then your final is on the Monday. So May 5th is a test. So May 5th is test 2. And then May 11 is your final, Monday. Your final will be on Monday. And it's going to be a take-home test as usual. Okay. So, yep. So if you do have any questions, make sure you email me or ask me, and then or IM me. Okay. I'll see you guys next week. Next week will be my last Zoom meeting with you guys. We have a Zoom meeting next week on Monday, May 4th, before your test on May 5th to go over chapter 13, the last chapter. Okay. So I'll talk to you guys later.